Cool. So thank you for joining, and I think we can get started. So maybe as usual, we can start with introduction. Ruti, right? Ruti Miwada. Yeah. So let's start with your introduction. No. Stand. Like you can just sit down and can do your introduction.
Thank you. I am Ruti Miwada. I am QA test engineer in Patel and Pratik. I have 6 years of experience as a QA.
Okay.
I am Alphabin manual QA tester from Fintech Technology. Last 1 year I am testing a manual test.
अच्छा बाजू निकलने माने छो मैं.
Good morning. My name is Varun Kumar and I am from Alphabin and I have 2.5 years of experience in QA automation testing as well as QA manual testing.
Myself Smith Rabadia. I am from Script Test Solution and I am working as a QA tester from Focus. Myself as Lovadia. I am working as a QA automation engineer with more than 5 years of experience and cognizant. I'm serving in cognizant.
Okay. Nice. Thanks for coming.
Good morning, myself Judy and I am working in this company since last 2 years as a QA automation engineer.
Good morning, I am Judy Sachitra and I am working as a QA automation plus manual engineer to plus AI.
Hi, my name is Pranal Gase. I am the founder of Alphabin Cloud Solutions. We build SaaS solutions for e-commerce and marketers. We help them to improve their conversion rate.
Hi, myself Sagar Gatia. I am an independent software QA consultant working in this field since last 1.5 decades.
Hey everyone, I am Judy Singh and I work at Browser Stack. Not so sure how many of you have heard the product, but Browser Stack is a company which provides product for automation or cross browser testing, visual testing and different testings for QA and testers. And I work as a developer advocate, which is very unique role and I'll explain during my session.
Nice. So thanks Sagar for joining from Baroda. So he's coming from Baroda. So really nice to see you here. So basically we were currently exploring different topics for this meetup, and I think in last meetup we have talked about automation testing as well as how we can leverage AI in automation testing. So I think mostly we have covered all the fundamentals part as well as some automation part. So this time I thought let's focus on particular domain, and we decided with fintech. Why fintech? Because fintech is really growing this year, as well as we have a lot of things moving in fintech industry, and that is the one industry which requires constant effort in the testing. And I think people have not that much expertise testing the fintech application, so that's why we have choose this topic. Yeah. So first of all, we would like to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, which is Browser Stack, and to be with us, is with us today. So Browser Stack is like our exclusive partner for all the events and for all the sponsor activities. And as I mentioned, we also use Browser Stack with our clients. And I think in the Jewish session, she'll explain more about what Browser Stack is and what accessibility is leveraging. I mean, how accessibility is being leveraged by Browser Stack and how they are providing services in that industry. Yeah. Now talking about the community, so this event is hosted by the Taste Tribe, and this is huge testing community, probably Asia's largest community, especially on the testing side. It was earlier, I think, EdTech startup started in 2018 with a mission to give testing craft a glory it deserves, and it takes pride, conducting a lot of different global events, and it's also supporting a lot of community spaces, and it has also created e-learning platform where software testers are globally connected and they can learn from each other. So with around I think it's now more than 300 events now, because this slide is a bit old. So it has conducted so many events, especially I think in Bangalore and Pune region, and we are currently leading the chapter of Surat, and it also organizes a lot of different hackathons, meetups, webinars, and a lot of one-to-ones with test professionals as well. And so basically this community has a vision to be a favorite spot for destination who want to become a good tester or good automation engineer. Next. So where we are, as I mentioned, it's proudly Asia's largest tasting community. It has organized, I think, more than 300 events so far. There are, I think, more than 12,000 tasters involved to this date, and there are so many cities covered physically where they are conducting regular meetups, and they cover more than 100 countries virtually. So events like conferences, meetups, hackathons, workshops, webinars, and a lot of different calls they are organizing on occasionally. And there are like a lot of numerous community initiatives like writing, speaking, volunteering, mentorship, and library of tasting. They are also providing that on their website. A little bit about me. So I'm founder of Alphabin, which is which is QA consulting organization basically, and we are providing a solution to companies like especially fintech, e-commerce, healthcare, and SaaS companies. So I started my career as a QA automation engineer back then in 2014-15, and since then like I worked with a lot of different companies and startups, and I thought to establish this organization because like there were a lot of opportunities, and we also want to serve them properly on the QA side. And one of my goal is also to guiding the engineers to become QA expert. So who has some, so a lot of time what happen like people has some passion about tasting, but they don't find a good platform or good mentor. So I also offer that to people. And in 2019 I have published a book on mobile automation tasting, which was reviewed by Jonathan Lips, who is the founder of APM Library, and it was sponsored by Kobicon. Yeah, so in this session we'll be mostly discussing the different aspect of tasting fintech application, mostly like how we can taste application with security, how we can apply taste automation to taste fintech applications, then how can we use performance testing for fintech systems, and how generally we do API testing, and at last like how we can leverage AI for fintech applications. Yeah, so before moving to next slide, do you know what fintech is? Anyone has any idea what fintech stands for and what are the different applications? Yes, Julie.
I think fintech is again a software company which provides software application and websites for finance, somebody from the finance sector. It could be Surat, it could be Grow, it could be PayPal. So any application and software where transaction of money is involved could be fintech.
Right. Any other person who want to speak more about what fintech is or which application falls under this category?
Like banking application, trading application, Bitcoin application, like also
cryptocurrency applications, yes.
And a regular bank application as well, like BOB, HDFC and others.
Yes.
Yeah, even we can say the Google Pay is also.
Yeah, exactly. It's peer-to-peer paying application. Yeah. So fintech in short like finance technology, which is the technology basically to automate the finance and related processes. It's kind of like we can imagine a bridge between like traditional and digital world in the finance. And there are a lot of companies. Yeah. So as Shubi and some other person mentions like these are some unique examples we have in India. Yeah, you can go to next slide, and I think I also categorize them into multiple segments. So mobile applications, which is Paytm, PhonePe, Beam, HDFC mobile bank application. Then peer-to-peer payment app, which Kunal I think mentioned, which is Google Pay, PhonePe, Paytm again. Investment application, which I think Julia has mentioned, which is Zerodha, Grow, Upstocks, Angel Broking. And there's also like online budgeting tools, which I think people are using so much widely these days, especially ET Money, then Pocket Card and Mint. Cryptocurrency exchanges, which is CoinDCX, ZapPay, and also on lending side, you can consider them as a fintech applications like Bajaj FinServe or Lending Card or Zest Money. And this is also falling under fintech umbrella, which is insurance like Policy Bazaar, Echo, and Bharat Bazaar, they are also part of fintech organizations, or they can also be treated as fintech organizations. Now question is like why testing finance or fintech application is so crucial and why we are talking about it. Because fintech apps deal with your money, which is so much important rather than anything. And making sure that they are perfect, like no one is stealing that, your money is safe. So that's why we need to test fintech application with very rigorous testing activities. So in this slide we'll talk about like how we can use security testing based fintech application. And remember, like in this topic we'll be only focusing on general aspect, like what general things you can take care, because all these topics are really in depth and we can talk hours and hours, and probably I also don't have that expertise to talk about on such topics. So my goal was to provide the brief information about everything. So what is security testing? It's basically like giving your application a digital safeguard who is safeguarding your application. It involves like series of different checks and simulations to find weaknesses or which hackers can also exploit. This might involve like trying to guess the passwords, searching for different vulnerabilities in the code, simulating the cyber attacks, and by identifying these weaknesses beforehand, testers can find those issues and tell the development team to resolve them internally. So it's always better to tell your development team to fix the issues before your potential client or customer is finding those issues. Especially in security testing, like fintech is the most important segment being attacked by hackers, because as it's dealing with money, people will always try to hack your application if it is in fintech domain. So basically the goal of security testing is to protect like your customer data, which is really important, which contains all the information about like your finance accounts, your payments, different cards, details, and it should be remain confidential and secure. Then we need to prevent unauthorized accesses. So only authorized users should access your application and perform transactions, because as we are dealing with a lot of multiple transaction, and we need to minimize the risk of fraudulent activities. Then maintain integrity. So finance data is it should be really accurate, and even though if there is any glitch on your application, it will give that company a terrible loss. So it's always better to maintain the integrity, and that is one of the main things we need to protect while we are checking application. Then in the fintech app, like it involves a range of activities. So in order to perform security testing, you can perform so many things, but these are some basic things which you can do. First is like vulnerability scanning, identifying defects in your application codes, configuration, infrastructure, code or data. So first we need to identify how secure the application is, your application is, and to do so, like you need to do vulnerability scanning. It will be checking different aspects of your application, whether it has SSL certified, it is using proper HTTPS request and all that. Then second aspect, I think, which is most important, which is penetration testing. So you will be simulating cyber attack on your application and try to hack that application. So this will be performed by your internal team. So they will be trying to hack your application, and whatever they find, they will be reporting to the developer, so that developer will fix them, and we cannot attack on that application anymore. Then this is again very important topic, which is compliance testing. So in today's world, like if you want to launch your application on global world, so it needs to be have some compliance certified. So there are a lot of compliances, especially related to security. It contains like PCI DSS, GDPR for European countries, and another is like SOC and SOC 2 compliances you need to get for your application. Because there will be like enterprise client who will not use your application unless they are having those sort of certifications. You also need to perform like secure coding practices, because any minor flaw on your code will lead to huge potential data leak. So you need to ensure that your coding practices are top notch and you are writing all the possible unit test cases and integration test cases for your code. Then third party component testing, this is again very important point because mostly whenever you are building your application, you will be relying on third party integrations, third party tools, and any leak on that side will also affect your application, and hackers will find a way to attack on your application through them. So it's also really important to make sure you are testing third party components before you are implementing it. Then configuration and patch management testing. So this is about like managing your application is working on different devices and different configurations. Any leak on that as well can lead to potential attacks. Now we'll understand one practical implementation. So let's say like if we want to have a mobile application, let's say, and that is kind of mobile banking application. So in order to attack on that, first you can set up a rooted environment. So basically you need to root your device. If it is Android, then you need to get root access. Otherwise you are not able to perform this activity, because mostly like the production level Android devices comes with security, so you probably cannot hack your application. But in case you want to check vulnerabilities in your application, first you get a device which has root access and try to use Bubsuit. So Bubsuit is one of the tool which using which you can get the traffic or the API request you are making through your application. It will intercept those requests. So first set up your Android device as a root access, and then try to monitor all the API logs or API calls and intercept that. And now, like as you got the access of your application programming interface or so-called APIs, you can check what APIs are passing. So normal user is not allowed to see those sort of data, but as you got root access and as you are now accessing the APIs, you can see a lot of things. So for example, like normal user is not able to see admin functionality, which is to verify the new beneficiary whether they are approved or not, or whether they are approved to send money or not. But once you get the API access, you can easily check that. Yeah, as I mentioned, like Bubsuit can intercept the request, so it can check all the data passing through your application. However, like mostly this data are encrypted and you cannot, even though you just intercept this API, you would not able to understand that, because those are always converted in some hashing, or they are using some encryption algorithms which is making those data in non-readable format. But there are a lot of techniques you can use, there are a lot of reverse engineering processes you can also use to get that data in readable format. Yeah, so as I mentioned, like you will be getting those sort of data, as well as sometimes you get the access token. So access token is the like kind of entry point in your API. Using access token, you can authenticate to any API, and if you are getting the access token through those requests, it means that now you can use any API using your authentication access. So this authentication code or access code will contain all your personal user data information. So now you are able to access any API using this access code, and you can get any information for that particular user. Now you can use the access code and you can now intercept that API, and probably you can read your username and password for the bank application. And once you get this, then like you can control the entire application, and you can do whatever you want to perform. Yeah, can you go to next slide? I think it's okay. Now let's take another example, like imagine Fintech app which has weak login system. This is very basic example I'm giving. These days, like no one will provide weak authentication, but somehow some startups or some newly coming fintech companies are not providing that much attention, at least on the first phase. So I'm just trying to explain this basic example. So imagine an app which has a weak authentication system which allows unlimited login attempts. So ideally in the practical world, any finance application, I think you are getting only 3 attempts. So after 3 attempts, you need to reset your password. But let's say like they are not having that sort of validation. So you are free to now attempt multiple times. So basically our goal is to identify this vulnerability and recommend different security enhancements. So first thing is like you would use some sort of automated tool which will give you a lot of different username and password. So you will find a lot of different online tools which will give you not thousands but I think millions of username and password combinations which you can try. Then you can create your own username and password dictionary as well. So this dictionary will contain common names and password. Or probably you can also leverage some pre-made dictionaries along with some automated tool which will give you a lot of data basically. Yeah, next slide. Now attack simulation. So first we gather the data and now you will try to log in with that data. So the tool which you have chosen that will feed the username and password combination into the login form multiple times, and it will also analyze and store application response every time. Then we'll try to identify the vulnerability after getting successful login. So let's say we are trying to attempt 1 million times and out of that we are getting success in 1 attempt. It means like we are susceptible to brute force attack and we are able to get that perfect username and password. Now the process should be like once you are able to authenticate to your application, you just need to provide that information to your developer and you need to like mention how did you get authentication in the first place. So the process probably you can define is like the process then developers will be implementing will be kind of this, like they will be implementing login throttling, like they will be limiting the login attempts after a certain number of failures, which call sometimes like APIs are also providing rate limits so that you cannot authenticate that API or you cannot access that API so many times. Then you can enforce strong password authentication system. So basically in the finance application, they will be providing you like a validation message that your password should be at least 12 characters long. It should also contain special characters, numericals and capital and small letters. So that's where this strategy comes, and even though like you have millions or even billions of taste data, it's really easy to guess that password simply. And of course like enabling two-factor authentication is also it will also add a good extra layer of security, and using that only you can authenticate to your application. So any question so far before the conclusion? Or anyone wants to add anything?
Anybody, do you have any understanding like what are the pre-necessity stuff that we are supposed to check whenever we are doing any security assessment of an application?
So basically what we need to take care of, like what would be like prerequisites?
So there is a standard OWASP organization,
yes,
which has this list of known vulnerabilities. So these are independent organizations which do the research and development in the security field, and they find out that there are a few vulnerabilities already existing in the market. So let's say that there is a Windows update coming, right? They do the thorough analysis of that operating system and list down the vulnerabilities that are available in that specific version of the Windows. Windows is just an example, right. It might be any application. So there is a list of 10 rules that OWASP is providing, and we, as a tester, as a security tester, we should be focusing on these top 10 vulnerabilities while doing any security testing.
Right,
so
that's really good point.
OWASP top 10, if you search that thing out into Google, you would be able to understand what are the top 10 vulnerabilities that might be available in your application.
And I think they are also updating this top 10 list every year.
Every year, yes.
So they are analyzing the applications throughout the world, and based on the attacks, they will be prioritizing those items. Yeah, so we are coming to the conclusion. So basically, you want to protect your asset or money information. So you can focus on tasting very basic stuff, which is authentication, logging, then payments, and anywhere where user finance data is being used. And then when you are trying to taste, you just taste like a hacker, a good hacker, I would say. You can use tools to find weakness, but ethically. But I think you can also go a little bit unethically when you are tasting your own application. And yeah, this is most important. You need to tell developers how you would able to access unethically to your application, and based on that, they'll do engineering. Probably also they'll also suggest something, and they'll apply the patch. Yeah, taste automation for fintech applications. Yeah, please. So what is taste automation? So automation testing is the practice of using software tools to execute your test cases, and whenever you are using tool or computer to execute your automated test cases, it means like you are saving a lot of time. You are not doing any manual checks. So basically in automation you need to just write a programming script which runs automatically on your machine, and it will validate your application's functionality. So why taste automation is needed, especially in the fintech? So as I mentioned, like automation will save time. It will allow anyone to expedite the testing process, and by automating it, like we can execute them faster, and the manual team or manual test engineer can focus on some more complex scenarios which they were not performing earlier. So now they'll have some time because automation is taking care of manual, all simple manual aspects, so they can spend time on complex items. Now, as fintech application dealing with your money, so any defect in any of the flow will be really costly, and it will also break users' trust, and user will simply not use that application even though you fix those issues on the next release. Now, how to implement automation testing in fintech applications? So there are multiple ways. There are multiple tools. There will be like a lot of different automation frameworks you can choose. But these are some points you can take into consideration while selecting automation. First, you need to define the scope and goals, like what process or which items you want to automate first. Then you need to choose the tool. It depends on a lot of different things which tool you want to choose. It also depends on your engineering team. So if your team is using all the open source tools, then probably you can also choose one. Now that also comes to programming language. So let's say if your application is using Node.js as an ecosystem on the front end and back end, so it's advisable to use Node.js based automation framework. Then designing the effective test cases. This is most important part, and that's where QA engineer expertise will come to the play. So you need to check your application as an end user. So you need to think through about all the use cases. You need to draft end-to-end test cases, and you can design those test cases effectively, because those well-written document or that well-written test case will be ultimately converted to the automation test case. So it's really important you are choosing the right candidate for your manual test cases. And develop and maintain test scripts, which I think is kind of easy because now you have all the direction set. Now your focus is to only develop and maintain those test scripts. Then integrate with CI/CD pipeline, that is for autonomous and continuous execution, so that you don't need to execute your test cases manually. Then security consideration, what type of security consideration you can choose, because ultimately you are dealing with fintech application. You need to choose all the proper practices on your CI/CD environment as well, so that unauthorized access can be prevented from CI/CD as well. And last is training and support plus maintenance, and scaling down your team. Now, different scenarios related to application. I'm just mentioning very basic scenarios. First would be like automating the account sign up process. for new investment accounts. Here you will be doing authentication test cases basically. So you will be tasting all the different validations on the sign up and sign in form, and ensure that unauthorized users should not able to access the application even through sign up or login process. Then in the scenario 2, like you will be simulating a lot of different investment scenarios, like buying, let's say like if you are checking some stock broker application like Surat, let's say. So in that, like you can buy stock, you can sell shares and a lot of different things. So you need to simulate all those scenarios and you need to create case cases around those with different amounts, with different combination, with different quantities, and with a lot of various permutation and combination you can apply here. And scenario 3 is kind of important, which is tracking how you are making those investments, like and whether those orders are going through or not, and whether they are correctly reflected to your account or not. I think we can show that demo which we have created. Yeah, you can go to the Finder. Yeah, so basically we have choose one open source application and we try to automate that. We just trying to automate very simple scenario where we are just logging into the application and we are trying to send money to particular account. So first it will check the account balance, then it will try to transfer the amount on that given account number, and this will be the OTP or login PIN which you need to enter in order to make the transaction. Yeah, so I think that's it. And if you want to open Aqua ID, yeah, this is also checking the transactions. So whether that transaction went through and whether you can see that on your transaction history as well. Now if you can open IntelliJ Aqua ID, you can also showcase the code. So this is very simple and common framework we are using, which is Selenium based Java framework. So we are using page object modeling, where we are providing base test case class which serves as a base testing class, and we have page object file, and we have different pages as well as we have one base case. So all this is standard thing, and I think we can share with this you guys for your reference purpose. Any questions here, like if you want to deep dive on something?
Not for the security, but I want to understand like what are the differences, core differences we have in terms of automating the web application and the mobile.
Web application and
Mobile applications.
Okay.
Yeah, we are using same thing.
Okay.
Same like ATM is kind of Selenium library, right? ATM is a different library.
ATM is, yeah. So basically, to differentiate that, so if I talk about open source, there are two popular libraries. One is Selenium, and second is ATM. So Selenium was founded, I think, back then in 2007 or 8. I'm not sure exact year, but it was founded by two of the Google engineers, and they were facing a lot of issues while testing their applications manually. So that's how Selenium was born, and it's still to the date still a popular library, open source library to automate web applications. And APM is specially used to automate mobile application, because Selenium cannot automate anything for your mobile. You need to use APM. When you compare APM with Selenium, I think both libraries are very similar, but they are still distinct, and you need to use APM. And again, using APM you cannot automate web applications. So here we are using APM as a framework, and as both libraries are open source, it has created a lot of different wrappers in different programming languages. So we are using here Java wrapper here because we are using Java as a programming language, but you can also find APM's code in Python, in Node.js, as well as in C#. So it supports all the programming languages.
So what are the core differences we have? Because if somebody is using the first time that they're working in Selenium, and then like they wanted to switch to APM for any kind of purpose.
Okay, so basically if you want to switch to APM, so you just need to I think collect few understanding of APM. I mean, both are still very same. The method names are also very same, but the only difference I would say on the it is on the driver object initialization. Here you don't need to give much parameter, but while you are using APM, you need to set a lot of desired capabilities like what device you are using. So you need to provide your device name. You need to provide your device unique identifier, which is called UDID. You need to also provide your device platform OS, platform version, and after that, like you need to, you can execute your test cases on that connected device. And yeah, you also need to ensure that your connected Android device has USB debugging enabled from the developer setting. So I think that is the main thing when you want to execute something on mobile automation.
Also, you need to check whether APM service is on.
Yeah, that is
so
good.
that's
Yeah.
the basic.
So it will work with the virtual devices?
Yeah, we can work with both.
You just need to connect with your code. Like you can choose also like browser stack also you can use for executing. The same way
Yeah.
you can configure the Android simulators or your real device.
I think I didn't work with APM till now.
Okay. Good. Yeah, we can go to the next part. Now API testing in finance applications. So this is, I would say, like a very important topic because these days APIs are kind of main thing who are talking with different components and fetching the data, who is responsible to also talking with database and fetching data and presenting to your UI presentation layer. So as I mentioned, like API acts as a messenger between different software systems, and any leak to API or any vulnerability in API can cause you a lot of defect and a lot of harm. So API testing can be performed manually. You can test APIs manually, as well as you can use any open source tool to automate APIs. First, I would say like you need to understand what APIs you are trying to test, what APIs your application is making. Otherwise, you will not able to understand the data exchange on different API requests, and you will not able to perform better test cases on that. So these are a few points you need to take into consideration while testing the APIs. First is like healthy API flow, which ensures smooth data exchange between your application features. Then data on point, which is verifying API delivers accurate finance information every time. And then it should be always accessible, like it should not be deployed on some server which is having some sort of downtime. So API's reliability in fintech application is really a huge thing. So you need to ensure that your APIs are deployed in such a way that they are always available. Then of course, like it should be fast so that speedy transaction can occur. So if I just give you a figure, like in every second, I think in India, I'm not sure, but roughly I think there are around million transactions happening. And any flow in API, like you can think about the consequences. Any flow on that API can lead to so much damage to those transactions. How to implement API testing for the application? So again, like there are a lot of things to consider here, but here are a few basic things you can take care initially. So first thing is again like defining the scope, like which APIs you are trying to test, because there will be also third-party APIs, and I don't think you will be testing that because those third-party companies are responsible for testing them. For example, like if you have done Stripe integration on your application, then you probably won't need to test Stripe APIs because those are anyway secure and being tested by Stripe team. So you just need to focus on your API, which is connecting with their API, and you need to ensure that your API communicates with third party properly. So first you need to define which APIs you will be taking into the consideration while automating or by choosing for testing. Then again choosing appropriate testing tools. So like QA automation, there are also numerous automation tools available which can help you automate as well as manually test your application. Probably you guys have heard of Postman. which is very popular tool, and people use that to test APIs manually as well as via automation. There are also like a lot of open source tools available. I think especially in Java there is a framework called REST Assured, using which you can automate your applications. Aside from that, this Karate framework is also really popular. You can also use Apache JMeter to test APIs, as well as you can perform performance testing on given API. So after identifying the tool, you need to design your test cases comprehensively, so that you can test all the possible combinations. Again, this is very crucial thing, because here you will be using your expertise to ensure how to test APIs. You need to identify all the possible scenarios, and you need to create test cases for all scenarios, and that's how you can test. Again, like here, secure testing practices, like which practices you need to ensure, which test cases on authentication side you can perform to ensure that your application is secure, your APIs are secure, and then finally you can automate those API test cases. So if you think about different scenarios, then like you can think about chatting secure communication between mobile application as well as in the investment platform where stock trades are executed. Because earlier in days when mobile applications were not that popular, people were always using terminal. If you remember, there were terminals, and you could only purchase stock using that. Then web applications came. People were using web application, different broking applications like Angel, then Sher Khan probably, then also Motilal Oswal, different providers or different brokers started providing their systems on web, and through that we were able to purchase the stocks. And these days people are using mobile application. As we talk, like there are a lot of examples like Zerodha is there. There is also IND money, using which people can buy and sell the stocks. So ultimately those applications are connected through APIs, and they are communicating with stock exchange server as well. And whenever you put request on your mobile application, it directly communicates with that server. So you need to ensure that that integration is secure, as well as that application is passing valid information. So for example, if you are trying to purchase Reliance stock or 5 Reliance stock, and you are hitting the buy button, it shouldn't send 4 or 3 or maybe like 10 stocks. So you need to ensure whatever you are typing on the UI, it is going on API request, and you need to validate that way. Scenario 2 is like ensuring real-time stocks price data is fetched and displaying accurately. This is kind of important and kind of crucial step in API testing of fintech applications. So as you know, like stock price is always changing within fractions of second, and APIs are probably giving real-time or near real-time data sometimes. So you need to ensure that your API reliability is high, as well as it is communicating with stock exchange server rapidly, so that you don't get fluctuation. Right. Here also I think you can open the Postman. We can just try to explain how you can create test cases. Yeah, so can you open? Yeah, so I think that's fine. Can you open the body? Yeah, so basically this is GET request, so there is no body, and this is Stripe API we are using for this demonstration purpose. So this API will give you all the customers. So just to give a bit context about Stripe, Stripe is kind of a payment system or payment integrator which you can use to transfer the money to your users. So you can use Stripe APIs in your fintech application to, let's say, exchange the money between vendors and different parties. So in the Stripe there is a API called customers, which will list down all the customers you have on your system. And now if you want to just taste how that API goes, you can just put simple assertion like the status code should be 200. 200 means like the API called successfully. So there will be like a lot of different HTTP status codes available. It starts I think from 200 and it goes till 500. So 200 means like whether your application APIs were successful or not, and 400 means for client side of errors, whether you have made any mistake, then you will face 400 errors, and if your server is down in case, so you'll be getting 500, those are like 501 internal server error sort of thing. So this is one assertion, and you just create taste with PM object, PM called postman.taste, and it is mentioned that PM.response to have status as 200. It means like your API should return successfully, and it should return the response successfully. There are also a lot of assertions you can put probably on schema validation. Schema means like whatever response you are getting that has same format. For example, this ID has an object of string object, then this balance is for numerical. So you will be creating a schema for this, and you can also have schema validation for that application. Likewise, you can also create a lot of assertions on different things. For example, balance should be either 0 or in the plus, let's say. But I mean, sometimes it also goes to negative value, so that is also fine. But if your application is only considering positive balance, so you need to ensure that there should be no minus value to that particular object. Then you can also mention that email should have valid validation present, so there should be like valid domain present after @ and you can also choose a lot of different assertion like on currency, as well as if you have any sort of prefix. Probably you can also put some assertions on the date and etc. Any question anyone have here? Or want to add anything?
We can also validate Boolean values.
Yeah, definitely.
How to put the assertions in test?
So we have like you can use JavaScript over here. Also they have given some snippets which you can use directly. Like if you there are some snippets available, you can just scroll down. There are some values like if you have used APIs, some APIs generate token values, so we need to store their values, so we can use this kind of yes.
All things covered in snippet. All things covered in snippet.
No, snippet means it gives a basic idea. You can add based on your requirements. Like it uses JavaScript, so you can use the language and check the responses. They have given certain commands like response means the response you are receiving from the APIs, and to have they have given like if the response is having this XYZ value, then you need to put this assertion. So this is a basic syntax they have provided. You can customize based on your requirements.
I have one question. Like we have the stack integration, right? So we ask the API key to enter in our integration box.
Yeah.
So what are the best practices to store those API keys and credentials to store in our database? Right?
Yeah, that's a good point. So basically, whenever you
Because that API keys does everything.
Yeah, so it's really crucial, and if that get leaked, it means like anyone can access all the APIs and you can see all the information.
Store those API keys in DB.
So how to get the data from right?
You should put it in environment variable, whatever system that you are using, that should handle that thing. Not only DB or not only client side.
So it should be actually mocked, I guess. It should like not be visible the way like if it's a mobile number, it should be converted into some other text.
So we need to hash that.
Yeah, you can hash that.
Yeah. In database, if you want to store in a database.
But again, like that is simple thing. Hacker can hack that as well.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking. So
No, but I think it depends from applications to applications, right? So not every time you will have to put the API key here over a code. All you have to do is call the API, and when you are doing the testing, there will be a web page or some sort of page which will open where you can enter the API and then it will work for you. So not every time you have to put your API codes in here. So for an example, I recently built a RAG application using OpenAI API key, right? And I deployed it in Streamlit. And it has nothing to do with the testing, but I'm giving the API context. So here I did not put the OpenAI API key to call the large language model. All I had to do is I had to do the stimulate secrets and then name the API keys from which it will come. And then once you deploy and run the application, there will be an option where you can put the API keys. So in that sense, it would be the best and secure. So there is no way that you will put open API key in any of your codes while working on it. But it depends from use cases to use cases and where you are running it.
We need to access the live data, so we have to use those API key to get the data from Stripe server to our server. Then we
Okay, so basically we are talking about using API key on your code base.
Yeah.
So one way I think Sagar has mentioned, you can create local environment variables.
We have hundred of customers, so
Okay.
we can't deploy those environment variable a dynamic way.
In that, what you can do is like, so I think right now probably you'll be using database and
Yeah.
from there like you'll be exchanging data and calling the API using that key.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Where is your application deployed?
Azure.
So Azure is providing their local variables, environment variable system. So you can store it there. Use the API that Azure itself is providing in your.
I think, but what Kunal is trying to say that he is on live side. So we are I think thinking about pipeline. In the pipeline, we are there is option to provide
set the
secure variables.
Yeah.
But actually, when you deploy something, then you need to always get that data from database. And
Yeah.
I think you are currently using database. So as far as I know, there will be only one mechanism. You need to apply hash, and on the hash you can also apply some other hash algorithm. So you will encrypt your encrypted response, and you will encrypt it until you are satisfied. And that's how you can store it. But again, like if someone figures out like how much encryption layer your key has, then you
Still
can,
it will compromise.
yeah.
So data encryption at rest, if you have heard that thing, you can encrypt your data itself on Azure. That is the surest.
I mean they are providing inbuilt because this is crucial thing. But still, I think what we can try to do is like encrypt as much as we can.
But also the data, the cloud service which you are using either AWS, Google or Azure, they will take care of that, making sure that this
Yeah,
data
they are
is-
taking care, but still we can take some precautions on our side as well to ensure that in case, even though like it's getting hacked, like we are kind of secure.
Because at the end these data are on the cloud storage, so it's at the end their responsibility making sure that it's not free.
Okay, but
So there are a lot of solutions available. People can also use Snowflake if there is too much of data where you can directly get it from S3 buckets or in internal stages or anywhere.
yeah.
Because these hash will not help a lot.
Yeah, still it's a database value, right?
Yeah, but good question. Yeah, we can I think go next. So anyone has any question? Yeah, performance testing for fintech systems and also in general. In nutshell, like what performance testing does. So basically, it evaluates your system under load. Especially as I mentioned, like whenever you are dealing with popular bank application, let's say like you are having HDFC bank application. So like I think millions of users using it for making transactions. And probably in a second, like there will be like a lot of transactions, especially whenever Diwali time comes, especially whenever e-commerce stores have discounts, people are using accounts so frequently and so much in that particular time. So ensuring that your system behaves properly, even though with a huge pressure or under huge load, it's really important to pace your APIs. And that's where performance testing come to the play, and you can check your API performance by simulating virtual users on your local machine and try to check how much load that API can sustain. We also, and after that activity you can also identify the bottleneck, like what was the response while you were trying to simulate the real world use case, and how much slowness you are getting to particular load. So basically this will let you improve your overall user experience especially in terms of like slowness into the application, because this is a really good topic, because fintech means like it should be reliable and you should be able to access that any point of time, no matter which season we are using that application for. And you need to also measure different metrics like different resource usage like CPU, memory, processing power, then battery consumption if you are using mobile application, etc. So there are like a lot of reasons why performance testing is crucial for fintech application, but we have listed two. First is to get good user experience. Like if you can imagine a slow or crashing website or mobile application, then you will be frustrated and simply you would not able to use it. For example, in my case, like whenever I face slowness in the mobile application, and I face a lot these days with rapid application as well. So mostly I try to avoid mobile application and I try to use web application because those are faster compared to mobile application, and also mobile application have always some sort of maintenance going, especially on night time, like from 11 to 12. So if you want to use or you want to make any transaction, then there will be only one option is to use web application rather than mobile application. So basically you need to ensure good user experience, and you need to check that your application is not slowing even though it has a lot of user load. And again, like identifying issues early with performance testing is also very crucial, because this is a time where you will be checking your application APIs with a lot of user load, and it will identify a lot of bottlenecks, and this is the time where you can fix the identify the fixed issues early, so that the end user will not get frustration by slowness of the application or APIs. Now again, like talking about how we can implement performance testing. So it again like depends on the performance goals and scenarios. So again, like you need to choose which portion of your application you want to choose for performance testing, because I think not all the features you want to prioritize for performance testing. For example, there will be logout feature on the mobile application, and basically generally people try to do logout, they just close the application. So in that, like you don't need to check that performance scenario, because that is fine, that will work anyway. But most important scenarios would be like making transaction in real time, like making a number of transactions, checking the account balance for huge dates. Like for let's say, like if I try to check my transaction history for more than a year, then usually I get error, and that is reason, and that is why that is because there is a lot of data involved throughout the 1 year, and you are trying to get those data beyond 1 year. So that's why you want to check those sort of features. You can choose a lot of different performance testing tools. There are a lot of them available out there, but based on your criteria, based on your team expertise, you can choose it. You can either choose open source tool, or maybe like you can also choose some premium or freemium tools. Like people used to use Apache Jupyter a lot in past, and still this is a very popular tool. But over the years, people has also started moving to other cloud-based platforms like K6. K6 provides a lot of load testing capabilities, as well as they are providing their own cloud, which is really easy for people to use. So people are also migrating to that as well. Depends on their engineering team capabilities and their requirements. And preparing test data, which is again very crucial here, because here you want to perform, let's say if you want to check transaction whether you are able to send money to particular account holder or not. So if you are just testing one particular account with the same amount, then it doesn't make sense. You would like to use multiple different data, and you would also like to send money to multiple different accounts. So here you can prepare different test data, and then you can execute the performance test cases, and as usual you will be measuring the responses, analyzing the result, and talking to development team in case you are finding slowness or something else in your system. Yeah, so talking about different scenarios, let's simulate a surge in investment activity to see whether application can handle that load or not. For example, this is, I would say, this was true in COVID situation where all the stocks prices were down and people were at home. They had some money in account and they were trying to buy, stocks at a good price. So there were a lot of surge during that time, and I think there were also a lot of reputed applications were crashing just because they didn't test their applications with performance. So those sort of things you want to avoid when there is a surge in system, and you will not know when there will be a surge, because let's say like some stock is crashing due to some activity in the market and people are trying to sell that stock, so there will be surge at that time. So you want to ensure that your application is working fine during those scenarios. Second scenario is like testing your application responsiveness when user access live market data, and this is again very important because users are always constantly searching for the stocks on the broker application. So you want to make your applications reliable, and one way is to do performance testing on that particular API, which is fetching all the stock inventory data to your dashboard. Yes, Meetup. Meetup. Yes, yes. Yeah, we can go next. Now let's do one demo. Let's meet Ruby, who is busy business owner who relies on her fintech application for managing finance activities, like especially to pay the different vendors. And imagine her frustration when the app becomes slow and he wants to send money to that different vendors on, let's say, on the first date of the coming month. And so this will be causing a lot of trouble to business owner whenever they want to use any API and that API is very slow and not responding. So in our demo, we'll focus on again Stripe API, and we'll be using I think customer API, which is fetching all the vendors information, like which vendors I am having on my system, and we'll check whether we are getting a response or not. So let's keep that. So can you open terminal? So we are using K6. If you can just open Sublime, Bhavik, I think we have created one base case, which I think, can you open the first tab? Yeah. So this is very basic script we have written in K6, which is, okay, yeah. So which is stimulating the virtual users load. So as you can see, the views are 5. It means like there are 5 virtual users and they will be accessing the application, and duration is 5s. It means like 5 seconds. So 5 different virtual users will be accessing this API constantly in 5 seconds, and we are storing the report in the HTML format. So at the end we will get the report. This is the header we are having, and this is the API request we will be making to test. Anyone has any questions so far here?
These 5 users are concurrently accessing.
Yes, exactly. They'll be concurrently accessing these APIs, and they'll be making a back-to-back request unless there is 5 seconds getting over. So let's say first user comes and it is taking only 100 milliseconds for request and response. So again, like that user will start making second request after that period.
The session would be same, right?
Exactly. The only thing is like it will last till 5 seconds. Yeah, you can open terminal now. You can just make it clear, and then now we can execute that case. This is simple command. Now this is stimulating the load with 5 different users, and as you guys can see, this will take 5 seconds. So they are making constant API calls, and this is the report we are getting. So on the terminal itself we are getting report, and we have put one assertion that status should be 200. How we are validating whether those requests were successful or not? So we have only put one assertion, whether if the status is 200, it means like API calls were made successfully for all those 5 users in that 5 seconds duration. Now you can check all these different metrics like how many data was sent and received throughout this performance testing, how many requests were blocked, how many duration it was taking. So as you can see, the average duration is 230 milliseconds for one user for one API. So all these metrics you can check. You can also open that HTML report file. So if you just type open space dot, yeah, you can just open this summary. Yeah, so we made 104 requests in total. So that was the total request we could make under 5 seconds with 5 virtual users. And all those metrics which I was talking about in terminal, so those are in the HTML format now, but more granular format. And if you want to scroll up again, there will be multiple tabs like other states. You can see like there were checks, so all requests were successful. There was no single failure. It means like this application API, I mean Stripe customer APIs is working perfectly well. And these are the iteration. This is talking about like virtual users. This is talking about total data sent during this test, data received during this test, and total request and the rate, etc. And there's also third, checks and groups. It is, yeah, it's just saying like which assertions you have put and how many were passed and how many failed. Any questions here?
Is there any possibility to put assertions
Yes.
on the response? Like, right, for example, P95 or P90, I want to check that should be not beyond a specific limit.
Exactly, yeah. There is I mean, there are a lot of assertions you can put. Probably on data, you can also put that your response should be only of this particular size. It should not have that much size. You can also put assertion on the response time, like my response time. If I make request within that particular time, I should get response. Otherwise, my test should fail. So that is most important assertion you would like to put on your APIs, because when you are constantly making API requests, your APIs will get slow, and you don't want your API to get the response for you, within that particular threshold. If you are getting response after that threshold, it means like your APIs are becoming slow, and that's how you want to track, and that's where you want to talk with your developer. Any other question? Cool. So yeah, that's all we I think had on performance testing side, and this is I think the last topic, which is leveraging the AI for testing fintech applications. This is really huge topic, and we can again like talk about hours or probably in days. But I just put I think a few points like how it can help you, in nutshell, in my opinion. So first, it will help you to create automated test cases. I mean, it will give you a lot of suggestions, and it will save your time identifying a lot of test cases. You can implement ML algorithms, or probably you don't need to do that even, because you can use some generative AI tools, and you can create a lot of test cases. So basically what we can do is like, we can provide some historical transaction data. We can feed that information to generative AI system, and that system will automatically take those data into consideration, and it will create a lot of different test cases by analyzing that data, and it will create different scenarios for you. So you are saving a lot of time, and this is again like customized test cases you are getting. It's not like a simple use cases you are getting, but based on your transaction history, based on your feed data, you are getting the customized test cases in return. So this is really helpful when you want to check different scenarios for like transfers, bank transfers, the bill payments, the different loan applications, the different vendor tracking, and so many stuff you can get out of this thing. Then predictive analysis for defect detection. This is again very good point. Like the thing is like when you start developing something, you will be testing that system, and over the period you will be having history of lot of bugs on your system. For example, if you are using Jira and you are using Jira for defect tracking, at the end of 1 year or 2 years, you will be having a lot of bugs which might be closed, but you have history of those issues. So you can also feed that data to the generative AI system, and you can do some predictive analysis, like in which area you are getting the most of the bugs. And I think that's where you can start focusing on that particular area. You add so many test cases on that particular affected area, so that you can ensure that your affected area is working. And yeah, so that will this will able to help you to predicting your issues even before they come to the user side, and it will also forecast so many things for you. Then this is natural language processing for requirement analysis. Like basically what happens is like whenever you are creating any application, as a tester we used to test or as a tester we used to read the user stories to understand that application or that particular feature. For example, if I want to implement logging feature, there will be a story on my Jira board or whatever tool I am using for agile practices. So I will follow that story. Like I want to create a login page in such a way, so it will have mentioned all the possible combinations. Probably product owner has also written some acceptance criteria, like I want to have this thing at least in my system to move ahead. And based on that, designers will be designing the application, and based on that, developers will be developing the application, a particular feature. And again, based on that, we'll be testing that application. But somehow what happens, like when complex features come to the play, it has a lot of text written in terms of story, and sometimes we struggle to figure out what exactly it's trying to say or what exactly that feature should work. Like let's say like there will be like number of ways you can use that feature. For example, in bank application, there are a lot of different ways you can transfer the money to the account, particular account holder. Like you can do that from dashboard, you can go to your my account, you can see a lot of different pages, and you can also do transfer from them. So there are a lot of different ways you can use one particular feature, and that all should be written in that particular user story. So as a human, sometimes we miss all the ways. So that's where NLP analysis can come to the picture. You can feed your user story data to again generative AI system like ChatGPT or Bard, and you can try to say like which test cases I should be creating, or which are the ways I can use this particular feature, and it will give you all the data, all the different points from where you can use that feature, and that's how you can create your test cases around those different ways. And I think using that you can create all the possible functional test cases, and you will not able to miss that feature. And that happens a lot in real time as well in current scenario, because there are a lot of different people involved, there are a lot of different features are involved, and in rush to close the tickets you always miss out something, and at the end on the production we find that that particular thing is not working. So mostly like we miss to test that particular scenario, and mostly you find that there was no test case written for that on your regression suite. So this will really comes handy. This will work as your peer, and it will be reviewing your test cases, or it will also help you to create different test cases for you. Yeah, and I think that's all we want to discuss in this session, and now we are open for questions. So anyone has any question, or anyone want to know anything specifically about any topic?
I have AI. Have you encountered any solutions which we can use it for testing? So unit cases is fine. You did mention about we can upload our own documents, and then based on the scenarios and the past history, it might help you generate some unit cases.
Yeah.
Do we have any solutions available on the market?
So if you talk about unit test cases, yes, there are I think a lot of companies are there, and there are a lot of I think SaaS companies are also there which will provide you some solution. I think one of the, I forgot one of the name, coordinator or something. So there is a tool which you can just install to your VS Code. I'm just talking about unit test cases.
Extensions.
Yeah, extensions. You can just use that extension. You just install that. It will automatically analyze your code, and when you click on generate unit test cases product, based on the methods you have written on your test code or on your application code, it will generate all the permutation combinations of different unit test cases, and that was really accurate. Second thing is again, like you can use ChatGPT, Gemini. You just copy paste that code to ChatGPT and ask to create different unit test cases, and that will also create for that. But the problem is, there are two problems. First, enterprise won't, try to use ChatGPT because there is a problem of data leakage.
They do not put out their
Yeah, they will not put the data. Even though you put the data, you need to put all the possible data so that ChatGPT can give you some accurate unit test cases. If you are just providing one file, then you will get only few test cases. If you are providing multiple files, then the result will be different, and this time you will get more accurate unit test cases. So extension is kind of a thing which can help you. But again, here enterprise are a bit hesitant to use those sort of extensions because again, yeah, exactly.
Basically, if we provide prompts, that is the only way. Like code accessibility is not a good option over here. Like we have used test graph also.
Yeah, you use
It's
that.
a plugin where you just it opens the website, and if you select a particular portion, it creates manual test case and automation test case for the same. So you can use it also, but accessing the code, that is not feasible.
Have any of you tried Podium AI?
Sorry.
Podium, yeah, Podium. I was talking about. Yeah, I tried
Does
that.
that work? Because I did install that on my VS Code extension, and every time I write a code, there is an option to test those particular segmented functions.
Yeah, that I was talking about that tool. I forgot the name, but you reminded that to me.
Okay, so
And
we-
yeah, that works really well. I tried with some of the code, and it was generating very accurate unit test cases. Even it can also generate some placeholder test cases for you. So it will give you a lot of ideas how you can use that.
How do you see the possibility of testing in the field of AI? Because I was reading one of the posts where this lady has posted that nobody is going to take our job because now we will have more bulky softwares and more bulky applications. So do you think as a tester we can have more opportunities in there? Because a lot of people are going to start using, for example, GitHub Copilot or
Yeah.
any other application in our language model in that sense to generate the code.
Right.
And there are higher chances of codes being buggy and
Yeah, I mean, systems are still evolving, I would say. Definitely these AI systems are really powerful, and if you can use them wisely, it will save a lot of time. Especially we spoke about unit test case generation. But in my opinion, it's really pathetic at creating UI test cases, because UI test cases are much longer, much complex. You need to take a lot of things to consideration. You need to manually analyze the DOM structure. It can still create some basic test cases for you in the rapid time, but you'll always find issues from the complex areas. You'll be always finding issues from the different application perspective, not on obvious happy path scenarios. So that's where still human brain is needed, where you need to think through about the application. You need to think about bigger picture, how that integration or how that feature will work, and that's how you need to create the test cases. So where AI can help you is kind of data generation.
Technical.
Yeah, it will generate a lot of data for you within fractions of second or probably in minutes. Then sometimes in test case identifier, for example, like as I was mentioning that sometimes I miss writing some test cases. So I just need to feed those test cases. First I need to explain that feature to the AI, then I need to explain that I have written this 10 different test cases. Now give me the missing test cases, and that will give you all the missing test cases, or probably from that response you can get something more, and you can probably extend your existing test cases as well. But on UI test generation, it's not working pretty well. There are, some record and play tools are also available. For example, in Playwright, they are also providing you a support to record and get the code itself. So you just need to open Playwright console, You just need to interact with the web browser, and it will automatically record that thing, and it will create code for you. But again, in that here, sometimes it is not getting the locator properly, and it is using longer XPath or sometimes CSS selectors, which you can trim down to short ones. So there are always possibilities. I mean, you need to always work with them in harmony, so that you can save time and you can apply your bit whenever it's required.
And
But-
the last use case is very basic, like when you record the whole flow and then it can generate the
Yeah. But in case of unit test case generation, I found this really accurate, because if you think technically, if you are just writing one function and you are just asking AI to generate all possible unit test cases, I mean, it just need to check that particular method or function, and it is generating unit test cases very accurately. So that is definitely one edge that people can use that, and special developers can utilize them, because developers will never have that time to write unit test cases. And in my experience, we always struggle to get unit test coverage, because they were always busy developing the features. So that's where this Podium AI or any other similar framework can come to the play, and they can help developers to write unit test cases within no time. Yeah, any other questions? Yeah, can you introduce yourself? I think you were late, so you couldn't.
My name is Pratik Mapan.
And where you currently working at?
I'm a fresher.
Okay, cool. Thanks for coming. And I think then that's it we want to discuss. And thank you very much all for listening me patiently and asking different questions. It also gave me some new perspective, and it was really pleasure with you all. And I think we can take some break now. We can enjoy some snacks, and probably we'll continue with the Jewish session. So cool. Thank you again, guys.
So amazing session, lot of information. Oh my god.